What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Daily Groomer podcast. I'm your host, Alex, and today's episode is a little bit different. It's just as special as the past, but today's episode is more of a story on courage and resilience and hope. Let me give a little background before we get into it today and I introduce my guest. So our guest today is a talented dog groomer, a successful salon owner, wife, mother, everything, you name it. But she has gone through a journey that took an unexpected and challenging turn when she experienced a life-altering car accident in 2018. She broke her neck, went through surgeries, faced a long road ahead to where she's at today. And so through all of that determination and strength, I wanted to bring her on today to share what it was like to go through a traumatic life-altering event and find her way back to grooming and find her way back to a busy salon. To remind us really that no matter how difficult things may seem, there's always people out there that have been through something similar and can share these stories of recovery and hope and happiness. So without further ado, please welcome our inspiring guest, Katie McAfee. Katie, thank you so much for coming on the pod today and agreeing to share your story.
Of course, thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Well, so Katie, why don't before we even just get into like that day or that moment's events, I want to start by what life was like before this. So I know that this is a little while ago, all the way back in 2018 when this happened. But were you grooming before this all happened? Or what were you doing? What was your day-to-day like? Give us like an insight on Katie's life pre, let's call it the accident.
So I started working with animals right out the gate when I got out of high school. In like 2007, I started working for the animal shelter, and I worked there for about 5 years. And I did groom some dogs while I was there. And then I moved to a pet store that had some groomers in it, and the groomers left them with a big clientele list, and so they had me kind of like step in. And I had a few mentors, but I was a lot of self-taught. And so, yeah, it was kind of a trial by fire for that. And then I had a baby, my first daughter, in 2015. And I went back and worked for the same salon for up until the accident. So yeah, I was fully grooming every day, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, and taking care of my daughter. And yeah, life was pretty good.
Your hands were full. So you were
Yes.
working in a salon. You hadn't started a business yet.
No.
You were a salon groomer working, 40-hour weeks, taking, full-time mother. Hands were full, but life was good.
Yes, it was great. I always thought that maybe I would do mobile someday. That was kind of like what I envisioned for myself. But that's not the way it went. But that's so it was in my mind to start my own business someday.
Got it. Okay. So you always had that inkling of entrepreneurship there and wanting to go out and do it on your own. Well, take us now, that's a little snapshot of what life was like before. I wanted to kind of just paint that picture before we kind of talk about the accident. And then obviously I want to spend a majority of our time today talking about what you've learned since, how you recovered, what kept you going, all that sort of jazz. And then even like, as a healthy, happy human being, taking a step to own your own business is risky, yet you did it after all of this stuff too, which is incredible. So let's get right into it. Katie, tell us about the events of the accident. What happened that day? How did it all lead to this? Give us kind of that take by take purview into this.
Okay, so I was going through a little bit of turmoil in my personal life. My first daughter's father and I were breaking up. I was like basically taking everything and leaving. I moved from my house in with my cousin who lived in a little mountain town down a really windy road. And that's where I crashed, basically. I was driving home, and the only thing I really remember was seeing a deer, and then I don't remember anything after that. I hit a tree, and my car rolled over, and I was obviously very injured. I broke my neck. And my daughter was in the car with me. She was okay. She had a fractured tailbone. Unfortunately, my dog was with me, and he was in the front seat, my little Pomeranian, and he died instantly. So then the next thing I knew, I was waking up in the hospital, but I was very heavily medicated, so my memory is very foggy. I do remember waking up and my brother kind of telling me what happened, and then my anxiety, my blood pressure just like started shooting up. So they like put me back under to calm me down because
Yeah.
it was too much. So I was in the hospital in one town, and my daughter was actually in a hospital in another town because she was really scared, and they weren't sure if she had like maybe like a brain injury or something. So they took her right away. So that was really hard being separated from her. About 2 days, maybe 3 days after my accident, they decided to do a surgery. They knew that my neck was fractured. I had a hangman's fracture, which means that where your head meets your neck was fractured. So they took me into surgery. They didn't know if I would survive. They didn't know if I would walk again. I think I had like a 30% chance of even surviving the surgery, actually. But it was successful. I had an amazing doctor. And so after surgery, they put me in what's called a halo. And it's basically like a steel ring that goes around your head. And then it has these like studs that actually like go into your skull. And then it has like rods that come down to stabilize your neck. And I had like this shoulder thing. So that was awful because I couldn't move. And I had, metal in my head.
Wow.
So yeah, I was just kind of like just stuck like this, like just very like trying to sleep, but not really being able to sleep. That was very hard. But
Oh, go ahead.
so I was gonna say about 2 days, 3 days after the accident, my doctor was coming in and checking on me and telling me basically it was a use it or lose it kind of situation. If I didn't start trying to use my legs, which I could still move my legs and my arms and everything, so they knew that I didn't have that kind of damage, but I could lose function. So I started trying to walk. And I walked about 2 or 3 days after the accident, and everybody was like amazed. I walked with a walker, but
wow. I mean, so obviously there's no, going to the salon to groom. I mean, we could barely walk with a walker here. Did you think you would ever get back to, I'm going to call it real life again or
yeah,
not?
so I don't know, I'm a very stubborn person. A lot of the people around me were telling me not to get my hopes up, but I don't know if I really wanted to say that to my face, but that was kind of the word. But I was very determined, and I told my coworkers who came to visit me in the hospital, I was like, tell my clients I'll be back in a week. That was not happening, but they're like, oh, okay, sure.
What helped you stay so motivated and hopeful as people are telling you, hey, don't get your hopes up? I mean, I know you're stubborn, but that must have taken some real willpower. What was that thought process behind that?
Well, a big part of it was my daughter. I really didn't want to let her down. She didn't have a good father figure, and I just really didn't want to let her down. Plus, I have such a passion for grooming. Like, as you know, once I started grooming, I was like, this is what I want to do with my life, and I love doing this. And I just couldn't imagine doing anything else. And I would be, under all these drugs, laying there, just having dreams about like trimming paw pads and trimming faces, and like just trying not to forget, like, just running it over in my head over and over again. So I didn't forget how to do it. And it was just what I wanted to do. And I also just wanted to show my daughter and be there for my daughter, show her that it wasn't impossible. I wasn't going to give up.
Yeah, I mean, your resilience is definitely showing. I mean, the fact that you're dreaming about trimming paw pads is incredible. I mean, that's awesome and equal parts crazy. I love it.
Yeah.
What was it like? You said you started with a walker and you started to kind of, just slowly but surely will your body back to recovery. What was it like to start to relearn? And I put that in quotes, but to relearn, grooming and walking and just, all of that stuff, standing up without being
Yeah.
a halo. And
so, I mean, I had to learn so many things that you don't even know that you have to learn. Like, I had a therapist come in multiple times a day to teach me how to swallow again, because I had like a feeding tube for a while. I had to learn to walking was like kind of just something I got up and tried to do all the time as much as possible. But because I was so determined, they put a lot of support underneath me, because I was asking for it. I was like, I need somebody to come in here and teach me to talk again. I need somebody to come in here and help me learn to write,
Did you
I
have
wasn't
any?
going to give up.
Then that was my exact next question. Did you have any moments where you felt like giving up, or that you couldn't go forward?
Yeah, I think that there were a few moments like that where I felt very hopeless, but I just hated feeling like that so much that I just didn't. I was just like, no, like I'm not giving up, until I really can't. I'm not giving up. And where there's still movement, I felt like I could still get better, and that's what my doctors were telling me too. It's like, you're probably going to do as well as you let yourself do, basically.
Yeah. And you just willed your way through it. Did you have to change, maybe, all right, we've gone to that pit now, and now you're climbing in your story, you're climbing your way out. As you kind of progress through PT and as your physical fight through it, did you have to adapt any of your grooming techniques or routines to accommodate any of these new physical, limitations or changes?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I don't have very good neck movement. I can only go like that, and then another part of it was that when I crashed, I paralyzed my sixth cranial nerve, and that is the nerve that controls your eye muscles, your brain to your eyes. So one of my eyes was actually like jammed this way and stuck this way. And so I didn't have any movement, and I had really bad double vision. And to be honest, that was the worst. I don't want to say that's the worst part of it, but that was the part that I was most concerned about getting to groom again. I learned to wear an eye patch, which took away most of my depth perception, but at least I didn't have double vision. I was like that for about a year, and then I finally found a doctor who was like, could help me. I talked to like 3 or 4 different eye doctors, and I was feeling very hopeless about that. I found this eye doctor, and one of the first things she said to me was that she could help me. And she's actually my client now. She has 2 little doodle puppies. It's great.
How that works. How long after, Katie, after the accident, were you able to go back to grooming?
It was probably about 18 months or so before I was like fully grooming. So another part of the story, oh, so many layers, is so after I was in the hospital for about 5 or 6 weeks. I got out of the hospital, went to my mom's house, and about a month after I came home, there was a really bad fire. There was a really bad fire called the Camp Fire that wiped out my hometown. And it wiped out the town that I was living in before the accident. So I lost a lot of my belongings. And what happened was all of my family and friends lived in that town. So they came to live with us. So in a weird way, that kind of helped my recovery, because all of a sudden, all these people were at my house that needed help. And at that time, I was walking with a walker, and within a couple of days, I was just walking again, because it took my mind off of it, I guess.
Wow. I mean, double tragedy. I mean, that is, well, A, what are the odds? B, I mean, again,
Yeah.
it's a testament to your willpower there to fight through that. So you said 18 months to when you were fully back to grooming. Did you jump right back into the salon you were at before, or did you go about finding a new job, or did you start your business right then and there?
No, so my dear friend and mentor had and still has a mobile business, and she came and got me and took me around with her. And we did a lot of fire victims dogs because they just needed to be done so badly. So we would go to the fairgrounds where there was a lot of people camping, and do their dogs for free, do nail trims. And that really helped me get back into it. I really feel like if she hadn't have done that, maybe I wouldn't have gotten back into it, because she kind of like almost like made me. She was like, okay, I'm getting you, we're gonna do this. And like, I was kind of like scared to handle the dogs at first, and she was like, no, here you go.
That's incredible.
She really encouraged me. So she's great. She's one of my best friends. And then after that, I went back to work at the salon as a receptionist. And I did things to try to help retrain myself. Like I got a model dog, and I worked on the model dog when I wasn't doing receptionist stuff. And then slowly but surely I started bathing again. It was really great because I got to see all my old clients, and they were all happy to see me, and the dogs are happy to see me. And they wanted me to work on their dogs again. So that was great. I think it was really helpful to go back into that same environment with that. Like I knew the dogs, and I knew the people, and they knew me. The first dog that I groomed when I came back, her name was Stella. She was a Cocker Spaniel, and she was super old. And she was actually the first dog that I groomed when I came back from maternity leave too. So that was kind of funny. And yeah, I remember that. It didn't matter that her groom didn't look great, because she was really old and, just moved around anyways.
Well, that's a really cool like checkpoint though, is that Stella was your first dog that you groomed when you got back from maternity leave, and the first one that you fully groomed once you got back from the accidents. I mean, that is really like something.
Yeah,
there,
she was
right?
so special. So I think she passed away when she was like 16 years old, but I groomed her like half of her life.
That's incredible. That's really cool. So after all of this too, Katie, I mean, what inspired you to finally leave that salon and go out on your own? I mean, it seems like you just got to the other side of all this, back on the table at the salon you were at once we started this story.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're, adding, all right, hey, I'm going to jump right back into the mix and go out and do something challenging once again. What inspired you to jump out and do that after all of this?
Well, I started fully grooming again. I went through I went through 2 eye surgeries during that time, where I'd have to take a break and then come back into it again and kind of like, get started again. And then, sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there.
That's okay. About what inspired you to go actually jump out and finally take the chance to start your business?
Okay, so after COVID, so I went through COVID and I couldn't groom for like 5 or 6 months, like nobody could. And it was so boring, it was so horrible. And then I went back and I was very overworked and in my opinion, underpaid. And there wasn't a lot of room for advancement there. So once again, my inspiration was a lot of just trying to take good care of my daughter. At that time I was still living on my mom's property. I had at least my own trailer, so I had my own space, but I just wanted more for us. And I didn't see getting that working where I was. And I didn't see getting that working for somebody else at all. So I just, I thought about it for about a month or two. And then in February of 2021, I just left and I started doing house call. And I also rented a salon while they were closed 2 days a week. So I could do like really big clients or people that like didn't want me to come to their house. And then in May of 2021, I found what was my first location. And it was another kind of interesting situation because I was eating lunch at this place that was right across the street from this house that I lived in when I was in my early 20s. And so I was sitting there and I was talking to my friend about that house. And then we noticed there was a space for lease right there. And I was like, oh my gosh, wouldn't that be so weird if I rented this salon that was across the street from this house that I lived in? And sure enough, that's what happened.
That's incredible. And is that the location you guys are at today?
No, we actually moved in September of last year to a smaller location, but a better location, a better part of town, just like nicer. The rent's less too, so it's just all around better.
No brainer. Okay. And so now we are in the spring of 2025. It is 4 years now since you took that step out to start your own business. Where are we at today? I mean, give me a peek into Katie's Grooming, how you guys are doing as a business.
Well, we're completely family run. It's just me and my now husband. I got married last July, and we have a baby together, a 2-year-old, and she's in here sometimes. But yeah, he joined me last February. And yeah, we just work in tandem. We're usually booked out about a month in advance. We try to only have like 2, maybe 3 dogs in here at a time. We try to keep a really mellow environment. So yeah, that's what it looks like. I just really try to foster like a very family friendly, like personal environment. Yeah, that's just our whole thing is like that we're family run.
I like it. No, I mean, I like it a lot. And I'm curious, Katie, given how much you've been through personally, the accident, the fire, your dog dying, the event or the journey at the other salon, right? Everything that you've been through, what pieces of yourself have you pulled from those moments into the way you run your life today, right? Maybe that's the way you run your business. Maybe that's why you guys are, you lean so hard into the family run, right? What in the past have you pulled forward about yourself to kind of craft your current life?
I mean, I'd say just not giving up is like just a really big thing for me. I just never want to give up. I just always want to keep getting better. And I have been through so much that I don't really get scared when things come up that are kind of scary. And I don't know, I feel like when your life is moving in the right direction, then things are kind of like easy in a way. And like maybe it takes you some difficult times to get to that. But, my life took such a positive direction once I started my business. It was amazing. Like, I started my business. I rented a house like 5 blocks away from the business, with just me and my daughter. And then a little while after that, I met my future husband. A little while after that, I had my other daughter. Then we moved locations and, obviously getting married. Like, just so much good stuff has happened that I feel like I'm just like on the right track. And I feel like it's important to pay attention to those kind of things, to realize when you're on the right track and don't give up.
I get chills just thinking about that, like the path that you've been on after all that you've gone through. I mean, no, like you deserve every bit of that, Katie. So I hope you don't doubt that success.
Yeah, I definitely have some imposter syndrome sometimes. I think we all do. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to, I don't know, congratulate yourself sometimes.
It's hard to
But
celebrate some wins, right? Sometimes we tell ourselves they're smaller than they
yeah,
really, right? I'm curious of all of the things that, have kind of been on the up since, you maybe the bottom point. What are you most proudest of?
I'm really proud of just our business. Um, I'm really proud of the grooms that I turn out. I'm really proud of like the customer satisfaction. We hardly ever get negative reviews. People usually come back to us if they come once. Everybody and the dogs all just seem really happy. And I just really love that. I love it when a dog comes in and they're just like so happy to be here because the energy's good.
Right.
Um, I'm really proud of that culture, and I want to keep going with it and make it better.
Okay, so now I kind of want to, bring this a little bit full circle here. And I want to let's take away the imposter syndrome for a second, because there might be people that have listened through this entire episode now and are shaking their heads and are now looking up to you. So I want to turn it back to you, Katie, and give you the mic and say, hey, after all you've been through and after all of these proud moments that, we can all view and almost look up to now as what you've built or, incredible achievements. What are some pieces of advice that you can give us that you've learned maybe the hard way along your journey?
I would say never give up is a big one, but also like give yourself grace too. Like I didn't run myself to the ground. Like I still give myself like a day where I just lay around and do nothing. Or if I feel like things aren't progressing as quickly as they need to, then I try to like look back and see how far I've come. So I think that's really important, and just realize that like you can do hard things. You really can. When I was going through my journey, my mom, one of my biggest supporters, she gave me this bracelet that just it says in it like beautiful girl, you can do hard things. And I just always look at it and just think about that. So I even had a big sign in my shop that said that. And I took it down because I felt like it was showing the dogs that they should just never give up if they were fighting against us. So I put it in the back where they can't see it. But
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, I love that mantra, Katie, that you can do hard things. I'm a big believer of that myself. And obviously you can, we can all tell how much that's hit home for you, given what you've gone through. As we wrap up here, Katie, what's next for you guys? You guys are on this kind of blossom as the business is, very, very busy and successful now. You've got a loving, happy, healthy family now. I mean, what's next in your mind? Because I know you're not stopping, and I know you're not stopping.
Well, on a personal note, we are moving into a really beautiful house that has a really nice yard. So next month, I'm super excited about that. But then from a business level, we would really like to hire someone. I've hired a few people and it hasn't really worked out. So I've been kind of like scared of it, but I really need to find somebody to be my apprentice and take over because I do get a lot of like soreness and pains and stuff, and I probably don't have as long of a career physically grooming as other groomers. So I'd really like to find the right person to take under my wing and train them. Ideally, I'd like to maybe even find two people that could come in here, and I'd like to get a mobile unit and have my husband and I take the mobile unit so we could work less days, and then have the right people in here still running the salon the way I would run it.
Awesome. I mean, that's inspiring, and I've no doubt that you guys will get there. I mean, the next time we talk, Katie, you'll tell me you have a full team back there running.
We'll see. Hopefully.
Katie, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you.
I know that it probably wasn't the easiest telling some of those parts of your story, but it was super inspiring. You gave me chills times throughout this session today. So I really, really appreciate it. And just keep kicking butt. You can do hard things, and you've showed us that today.
Thank you. If anybody could give me a follow on Facebook or Instagram, that would be great. My Facebook is just Katie Grooms Dogs. And my Instagram is Katie's Grooming Chico.
Love it. Katie's Grooming
All
Chico.
right.
Katie Grooms Dog. Thanks so much, Katie. We'll have you on soon to hear where you get to.
All right. Thank you, Alex.
All right. See you now. That's the pod.